always get excited for these. Could have did my hair or something. Okay. I definitely did this. Hey girl. I'm just like doing my hair real quick. Let me see if I can invite Michelle like this. Hold on, let me just do this. I'm excited to talk to you later. So this one, we'll be talking about orgasmic living. And yes, okay, here we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh my goodness. I have my do not disturb on and it's like no media allowed. I'm like, I just don't want people texting me.
Can you hear me?
Hold on. I can hear you. It's kind of I've got to change my settings real quick.
I'll turn that fan off. That might help a little bit. Oh no, but trouble, it's like about to rain over here, so I'm a little tired.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good night.
I'm
Hi.
hoping, I'm like, please do. I'm sorry.
I was just saying hi and seeing how you were doing.
I am good. I set up outside. I'm like, oh, it's so nice outside. And I set up outside and I'm sitting there and I'm like, no, nope, it's too hot for this. It's too hot. I can't do this. So I did a mad dash inside. So I'm like, okay, this is so much better. So much better. But I'm still trying to make sure that I don't have people texting me or calling. I don't know why my do not disturb doesn't allow me to. But yes, I'm good.
Okay. Well, we'll see. It's always best when we just go with the flow and then we get an idea of, where this is all gonna go. But we can just get started and start talking about you. So, I remember you not knowing the specifics of your moon and rising, but you said your sun was what?
Yeah,
Your
I
sun
don't.
sign.
I've had my palm read and I know my birthday, but I've never had the all the other stuff done. Like people keep saying, you need to know your moons, you
Okay.
need to know this, and I'm like, oh, I will, but I never do it. So
Trust me, I didn't know either. But what is your sun? What is your main one?
I'm a Leo, so I'm born August 7th.
Yeah. Okay. I like Leos. I just started
Are we
meeting
choppy?
more Leos like this year, and I understand a little bit more about like you guys really like to do stuff, and it's like I've never met a humble Leo, but when they're more humble, it's like when they're not so humble, it's like they can get more stuff done because they have this drive and like this confidence about themselves, and it just helps with whatever their goal is, like whatever it is that they want to do, they can get it done because they believe in themselves a lot, which is good.
Right. And that is very true. I would fall probably more under a humble Leo in terms of myself. In terms of getting things done outside of myself for people, I'm definitely like 100% lioness, like get out of my way. But when it comes to just like, okay, that same raw inside of me that's just like, did you just did you just talk to me like you're crazy? Because that was something I look back and I'm like, I try to recreate that in myself in my memories, to
Okay.
recreate my memories,
Yep, I get that. I feel that
which
1,000%.
we'll talk about, right?
I feel that 1,000%.
But yeah.
So while we're here, let's talk about like the orgasmic journey and what inspired you to start this.
It's funny because what we're talking about, I'm gonna click on here real quick just to make sure that we're not choppy, because the video I have of you is not clear. So I want to make sure that
Okay.
you're clear.
Okay,
And
well, you're
so,
clear on my side, and I can save the video for later as well. So, yeah, I can download it
okay.
and send it to you.
Um, okay. I just wanted to make sure your picture is clear because it's kind of like has a little grainy. So I don't know if you want to change your internet connection, but we will get started because
Okay.
I don't know if it's just mine.
It's good on my side.
Okay. So I mean, really the conversation we were just having is really a good starting point in terms of what got me started with where I am now in terms of orgasmic energy. Growing up in an environment where I really was a firecracker. I really was that child that was deeply connected to spirit from the time I came out of my mom. I was just like, yes, I know the spirit. But I was also in an environment that didn't cultivate that, nor it wasn't appreciated, and there was a lot more worry about like, oh, she's out of control, she's this. There was a lot of judgment, right? So and I go back to the humble Leo, that definition of myself. Growing up I'm from Dallas originally. We moved to Phoenix when I was little, and then we moved back to Dallas. But while we were in Phoenix, I went to the school called Hopi Elementary School. And my mom or my parents had the teacher put my desk by the teacher's desk so that they could better control me or keep me calm,
Okay.
as such. Now, there's two ways to look at that. Like there's a separation in that, but there's also like this anointed, I am the special student,
Yeah.
right? But environment where I was the only Black student, and I was also labeled as hyper, and I was also labeled as something different.
Mm.
It put me at the front of the classroom as a punishment, not as a recognition of greatness. Now, this is where that Leo would have been a blessing to come in, where I would have been like, I'm at the front of the classroom. Y'all, my pupils,
Right.
you need to bow down to Michelle, because I mean, I'm the assistant teacher.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? Why do you think she's up there? But I didn't have that experience, because now had I been that Leo, this journey would have been totally different, right? But the
Yeah.
Leo I was just like, nobody wanted to talk to me because I'm at the front of the classroom. I'm the only Black kid. I'm all these different things that were separating me, were constantly reminding me, and I was reminded of. So I kind of went into this thing of like, value worthy, ugh, like, you're just kind of an outlier. I was always an outlier. And so spiritually, I had a lot of questions. I was very fun and free in terms of my own thinking. And as I got older, asked some questions that my Sunday school teachers didn't particularly like. Like, for instance, if Adam and Eve are the only two humans and they make children, um, that's as far as it can go, because my daddy told me I can't marry my cousin because we don't do that. That's called inbreeding, and you make broken babies and genes start to mess up, because my dad's a scientist, and he's like, yeah, that's not how we do things. So I'm not allowed to marry my attractive cousin because he's the only black guy I've ever seen, or other black kid I've seen when we go and visit. And I'm like, oh gosh, he's black, he's beautiful. And it's like, no, that's your cousin. Stay in your parameters. You're 5, right? And so I'm in Sunday school class and they start talking about this, and I'm like, no, you're not allowed to like be with your brother or sister. Like that doesn't work, or cousins. So where are all these other people coming from? And it was like, okay, Michelle, you know what? Let me take you over here to the snack table because you're in timeout. And it's like, it was always a separation from the group. So that was one part of what took place. The other part is that I always knew something was bigger, was taking place, right? But
Yeah.
I'm being shamed because I don't look like this person. I'm being shamed because as a young lady, you're going through this transition with your body, and it's like, oh
Yeah.
my God, menstruation, it's so gross. You're so gross. Don't smell like a fish. Don't. And it's like, what is this thing that we have, this apparatus that is like, these guys get these things that they get to run around and swing, and there's like these wonderful things that look really weird.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm not allowed to look at it. And everybody is telling me that it's like I have to keep this private and personal, but it's like it can be disgusting and it's like dirty, and thinking about it and these feelings are dirty and whatnot. So I was just like a mess. Like I remember being told not to go swimming with boys because I could get pregnant. Like this is the kind of stuff,
Okay.
like the
Yeah.
craziness, right? So I literally wore a bodysuit during junior high and high school. It was like a dance leotard that was from the shoulders all the way around the ankles down around the foot.
Wow.
Because I'm like, well, I'm gonna play, I'm gonna have fun, but nobody's gonna be able to touch me. And it's like this whole thing that I set up as a protection, because there's like this unknown of like fear and worry and like, oh my gosh, I can't, like this isn't, I want to look because it's natural, but I'm shamed and I know that this is wrong.
Yeah.
Somewhere along in that time, I started, my mom was reading, actually, it's kind of funny. I come from a very devout Christian legalistic belief system on that. My mom's side, my dad's side is more like uh, Southern Baptist, kind of like, hey, let's whatever. But it was very Christian. And my mom was reading A Wrinkle in Time to me as a little girl. It was like my favorite book. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I was Meg. I wanted to test her. I wanted to like do all these things. And um, it wasn't until recently that I went with her to the movies and saw that I realized she really introduced quantum physics to me as a little girl.
Yeah.
And so asking the questions, asking the different things that are going on spiritually, and being exposed to these things, that it's like, well, maybe there's something bigger. Maybe there's something more expansive. Maybe I'm connected to the universe, right? And so that, like, I think looking back, that really cultivated some wonderful things. And as I went through my journey, I always was a spiritual seeker. I was always like enamored by water. I loved being in water. I could float, and I loved the sun. I loved absorbing the sun in my skin. I loved being in it all day. I did not like getting overheated, and I still don't. Like the receiving of this energy, like there's a certain amount that I can take, and then I'm like, nah, I gotta get in I gotta cool off. I don't want and I don't know, maybe it's the Kundalini in me, my chakras open up, and it's just like, oh, can't take it. But I started really seeking more things from the earth. And so like hiking and being involved in these different things exposes you to people. right?
Yeah.
And so I came across a book by Marianne Morrissey, or actually it was a video. It was actually an audiobook. And she was talking about how she had kidney failure and she was going into the hospital and she was going to die. And this nun came in, or this lady came in, the spiritual person, and was like, do you believe that you can heal your body? And she's just like, no. Like, what are you talking about? She was like 19 or something like that. And she goes, well, do you believe that your body has the power to heal itself? She's like, yeah, but I'm really, really sick right now, so I don't think that that's going to be possible. So she went from this belief system of like I'm dying to this woman helped her construct this visualization
Mm-hmm.
of everything from one kidney moving over into the sickest kidney and like allowing this kidney to take all the poison, all the toxins, everything that was needing to be removed. So when they went into surgery, they found that the one kidney was like in perfect health, and they were like, wait, they were both bad. And this one was like 10 times worse than they imagined. And she came
Yeah.
out and she was just like, the power of the mind is ridiculous. Now, to backtrack, I'm dyslexic. Um, I'm labeled ADHD, which I'm not. I found out later that testing was like more I'm a thinker outside the box
Mm.
than ADHD, but they don't know how to deal with people that think. They drive them crazy.
Yeah.
So my mom did another thing, which was eye vision training, because she was told by a chiropractor and these eye doctors that if they put me through this training, they could de dyslexic me, like they could remove the dyslexia. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Well, there was all these little things that I had to do with my eyes because I don't have a dominant eye. Both eyes are pretty much fighting for power.
Okay.
But what they did is at the end, I had to do this thing where I had to lay down. Now, mind you, I'm like fifth or sixth grade at this point. I had to lay down. I had to close my eyes. They played this music. And the lady would say, Michelle, I want you to relax. Breathe in, breathe out. Imagine the warmth. Feel it. Allow it to circulate around your body. And it's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just sitting here, and this woman, all I know is she starts talking. The next thing I know, I'm passed out. I wake up 30 minutes later, feeling better, and
Mm-hmm.
she makes a tape for me to listen to this every night. So not only have I been introduced to quantum physics, but now I'm being introduced to yoga nidra or guided meditation,
Yeah.
and I'm doing guided meditation every night to relax myself, open myself up to accept things. So like this process is taking place without me realizing what this process is, right?
Right. So you're
So,
experiencing it, but you don't know how to identify exactly what's like really happening to you.
right, like I don't know. I'm just like, okay, it would be the same thing as if you take these, like life wasn't perfect. I had a rocky relationship with a father that was very strict because he was trying to make sure he kept a job as a black man as the first black engineer at an all-white company
Yeah.
in Texas, right? So he's under stress. As a little girl, I think that's me. Like I'm doing something wrong. And it's like, I'm not doing anything wrong. It's just he's trying to keep himself together. So we
Right.
have these perceptions of what we think is going on because we're thinking from our child mind, and
Mm.
we don't have a full understanding or view of what is taking place.
Yeah.
And things are happening. So, I mean, on one end, I could be like, oh, I was an abused child verbally and emotionally and mentally and physically and all these different things. Or I can hold on to that identity and I can live out that experience, right?
Yeah.
Or I can be like, wow, I went through some things, but at the same time, all these things were being provided for me, support and avenues for me to find peace and freedom,
It's
right?
funny that you say that because I've been trying to upload a video all day from yesterday, so it's gonna load sometime today, and it's talking about that. It's like everything
Right.
that I went through. It's like, yeah, it was so great. It taught me so much, but I'm like so glad to be able to put that down, appreciate it, put it down, so I can move on because like it's
Right.
time. It's
Right.
time. So yeah, I get that.
So, and the thing is that we're brought up in this fairy tale, especially young ladies or girls.
Yeah.
And I can't speak for men because I don't know exactly what they experience. So, gentlemen, if you're on here, you can like comment about if this is true for you, if you get something different. I think their experience is more like keep it rough, keep it tough, show up like a beast kind of thing.
G.I.
Where,
Joe, action figure.
right.
Some, not all, but you know, some. Yeah.
Right. And we, on the other hand, it's like romance, fantasy, be swept off our feet. Life is so wonderful. Be happy. Everything is you're going to go through something, but he's going to save you.
Yeah.
There's something outside of you that's waiting to take you away and give you everything.
Rather
Right.
than like that within, like knowing
Right.
that we have it within, it's like it doesn't exist for us.
And we're not given that piece of information that it's like, no, he's going to show up. Or it's going to show up because you show up, because you're it, right?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the thing of like living in this fantasy of like, okay, if I am good, and if I just like, I stay good, and I continue to be the nice person when these people are pulling my hair, and when these people are saying these crazy things to me, and when something hurts, like as a little girl, I remember like being really little and I would get in trouble and I would just sit there and think like, man, this is the best they know. Like they don't mean to be like this. They just don't know any better.
Yeah.
Which is a crazy concept for a little child to have. But the problem is that all of the things that they were saying, I was still taking in and I was making them my truth. When they were not my truth, they were someone else's truth, right?
Yes.
So that's where like this growth of like, okay, I'm going through the spiritual experience. I'm having this awakening, not knowing that I'm awakening. And I listened to this book and I'm like, wow, the mind is powerful. I wonder if this is real. I wonder, but I'm watching her and I'm following her stuff and I see that it's real for her, but I've also have this thing because I've been working with children since I was 12.
Okay.
And my whole understanding was they deserve better. They need to know they're precious. They need to know they're priceless. They need to know the world is theirs and there's no limitations and boundaries for them. I don't have this because I'm somehow broken. I'm somehow not enough. I'm somehow ugly and just a throwaway, but they're not. And I can put everything I am into making sure they know that they're not. Mm-hmm. Even though I don't deserve this. Which is like such an oxymoron, right? It's like this thing of like,
I get it, because that's how it is working in mental health. That's how it is working in the juvenile. You'll see like the staff, we pour so much into those kids. And it's like, if we can only teach them how to love themselves by loving ourselves in that same capacity.
Right. We have to be the
it's
example.
Like how I allow myself to be treated is the same way, is a reflection of me teaching you as well and giving to you as well. But
right.
We're not.
And it's kind of a crazy thing because like I would tell my girls, because I was a juvenile detention officer, and I would tell my kids and I'd be like, I would tell all of them, boys and girls, I'm like, you're a king. You're a god. Like I was literally saying this to these kids at 19. I worked in a predominantly blood environment in terms of Bloods versus Crips. And I would post things on the wall and I would like bring in this Black history, like, this is what the man has done for the woman. This is who you are. You are not this nonsense about this protecting this land that you don't even own, giving your life into a school system that sees you as nothing. Like I would come in and pour so much into these individuals. And it's like, meanwhile, I would go home and I would accept the least for myself. Right? I would sit and and that's where I was saying with the Leo, like I would show up as this fierce lioness, like, what, you ain't ready for this? right? And then I would go home and I would be this mouse.
Yep.
That would allow mistreatment and would take crumbs.
Yeah.
Because the tapestry that had been laid out for me was that show up, bring your best, but you're not valuable. You're not worthy. You're not. So like even the whole idea of like having sex. Like, it was kind of like, okay, let me know when you're done. I'm not allowed to look. Like, I'm not
Right.
allowed to explore. I'm not allowed to know these things about myself.
Yeah.
So that was like, and I had a 9-year marriage that was like filled with that. Like I sit up and I tell women, I hear all the time, oh, there's these toxic men, there's these toxic men, I can't stand toxic men. And I'm like, so let me ask you a question. If you had a brand new, fully loaded car of your choice, and I'm talking, this thing is loaded, lit, would you let somebody get in it that's covered in mud or shit? And everybody's like, no. It's like, you wouldn't? You wouldn't give them a ride home? No, I'll call them an Uber, they can walk. They're not getting in my car like that. Okay. But yet somehow you're saying there's all these toxic men and these individuals that you're around, but you're the one letting them in you.
Right.
So
It's
who's
the
toxic?
accountability. It's the
Because
accountability.
I'm not toxic letting somebody toxic in me. Like, if somebody's not clean, somebody's not right, I'm gonna be like, listen, personally, I'm gonna be respectful and loving. Be like, oh, we just don't jive. But you're not gonna let somebody in your space within you if you are balanced.
Right.
And more importantly, if you recognize like the value of what you have, if I give you a brand new diamond ring, would you be like, oh, hey, I'm going hiking. Let me use it to climb up the mountain. No, you're going to cherish it because you hold value to it.
Right.
You see it as something that is powerful and beautiful and valuable. So you'll treat it properly, right? And it's like, yet somehow we have this thing that, oh my gosh, it's not a vagina. We call it a yoni, and for the longest time the word pussy would like, oh my god, that's so disgusting, I cannot believe they're doing that.
Right.
I feel dirty, I feel shamed, I feel like somehow I'm in the middle of Pornhub and I'm like, and
Right.
it's like there's this a connotation with it, like, oh my gosh. But it was always being said by people when they're the individuals and they're being intimate,
So do you
and
feel
it's like,
like
huh.
the appreciation that happens when it's connected to something outside of ourselves? Like as far as us like appreciating like our yoni, our vagina, our pussy, do we appreciate that when it's connected to something away, like outside of ourselves? Does that make sense?
You mean in terms of somebody's telling you, oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it.
Like,
I think there's an appreciation there, but here's the thing: nothing exists outside of you.
right.
That's the thing, and so like for me, this has been an area like, what do you mean? Take a mirror and look. Like, I'm not looking. I don't. What are you talking about? You're crazy. Like that's what those girls do. They're like over there and they're labeled slut and whore and like all these things, and it's like, no, that's called miseducation.
Yeah.
That's called misinformation. And so coming to the point where it's like, why am I shamed about something within me? Right? And I went through a long period of studying. I've studied Dr. Wayne Dyer, I've studied Esther Hicks and Jerry Hicks, I've studied Napoleon Hill, I've studied Dennis Kimbrough. I have a laundry list of like the As a Man Thinketh, the Three Simple Words. I mean, I have been for the last 30 plus years, 20 plus years, 20, 30, I don't know. I have been on a journey for this long, and it wasn't, I had opened up, it was like seeds were being planted at first.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the point where they were taking root, and then a stalk came up, and a branch came out, and a leaf that fell off. That was the first leaf, and then another leaf grew, and then all of a sudden, I started going back to what I had read, and I was like, it was always here. I just wasn't ready to receive it. I had to walk through some things,
Yeah.
and so Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, crazy amazing book.
Yeah.
Chapter 10
I get chills
Sex
thinking about it.
transmutation, sexual transmutation. What'd you say?
I get chills thinking about it.
Yeah, it's an amazing book, and it's like it's one of those things like it's not something that someone else created. It's our truth
Yep.
that they are rewriting, and
Yeah.
it's our natural essence of who we are as who we are,
Yeah.
right? And it's just somebody else has tapped into this information and sharing it. Well, mastery of sex transmutation. Nobody wants to talk about it. And I'm sitting here and I'm reading this and I'm like, I've read this book like so many times and it never clicked. And I'm like, what is this? What is going on? And all of a sudden it's like sex transmutation. Sex transmutation? Like they're talking about this. And it's like, I get this as I'm reading this, a video from Esther Hicks comes on and she's talking, Jerry has passed away. And I didn't know that. I was like, what? And she starts talking about how everything that he has been doing has been based in Think and Grow Rich, like Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And I'm like, it's like click, 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 click. Like they're teaching from the same thing I'm feeding from.
Yeah.
It's why it
It's like
resonates with me.
it's all the same. It's all the
Right,
same. It's all just, it's like they're all bringing awareness to a mindset. It's like once you have this mindset about who you are, you start to move a certain way. You start to attract different things. You start to, it just sounds
right.
so foreign to us because we've been ourselves for 20 some years, 30 some years, 40 some years. It's like it doesn't even seem possible.
Right. And we've been ourselves under a programming that tells us that we're not to connect with self and
Right.
that something outside of us is more important. So I'm sitting here and she says that it's like Jerry has been teaching the law, like from the book of Think and Grow Rich for his entire thing, but he would never talk about sex, chapter 10. He didn't want to talk about it because the audiences weren't ready.
Oh.
And I'm like, and I'm sitting there, and I have at this point in my life, I have a full understanding of my spiritual journey. Like I get it. I have a full mental understanding. My body has been exiled and my sexual expression and experience and enjoyment has been like tapped off. The dam has been built, cemented, and like put in a cage. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, it's the trilogy. It is the internal trilogy of spirit,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the spirit, the mind, as we call it, the heart, like this knowing, this passion that is coming from us, and then the expression in the body, like, and I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I start getting all these downloads of like all this stuff and I'm like, it's the imbalance. This is the imbalance. Like me being able to be in this space when you are in an orgasm, you are not sitting there thinking, did I turn the stove off? What shoes should I wear tomorrow? Can I pay the electric bill? You are not. You are in this like, there is no thought. There is nothing but like pure, like just, right? The breath is released. The experience is like taken into the essence of every place in the body, right?
Yeah.
And you have these feelings that are taking over and it's like, what is this? And it's like, I sat there and realized that is God, as we call it. That is connection to our cosmic core, our self, our everything. And I was just like, this is what it is. This is the main course. This is going past the most expensive, most delicious, most sought after, most amazing restaurant, and somebody giving us a little taste of something on a Q-tip or on a toothpick, and saying, yes, we have the most amazing food and we taste it. And we're living in this place where we know what we've had a taste. So it's like we have sex and we have this little orgasmic experience, and it's like that's a taste of what we can experience. But it's like we go to the door to get to this place where we get to experience it, and where it's like, sorry, we're not letting you in. You're not dressed right. You're not this. You're not properly prepared. And so then we go out and we have these things. So we have these experiences not understanding what we're doing. So this gets into the whole aspect of like, what is the yoni? What is the pussy? What is the cunt? Which is crazy because that's a word that I hated. And then I found out that in India, that is like such an honored, beautiful word that actually is like this word that describes the woman as a goddess. Right?
But over here,
And it's like
these call somebody. That's crazy.
Right, and that's the craziest thing to think about, how words are spells, right? They say things, they have meanings to them. So if I take a word that is really powerful and I put a meaning to it that is like, that isn't, and I get you off your game, then I can control you because you're no longer in your power, because you're not going to dive into your power. So I read this book, Pussy, The Reclamation of Pussy, or something like that. I forget the name, and I'll try to figure it out and tag it when I see the video show up. And it was the first time I had allowed myself to dive into the space of my physical body and how I felt about my physical body and the words that were running around in my head and the things that I was holding onto that was keeping that free.
Okay.
She said the tip of the men's penis has 1,000 nerve endings. That's like tons of nerve endings, right? Okay. But what's crazy is the clitoris has 8,000.
Wow. Okay.
Right? Yeah. You know how many times I have been in a situation and my clitoris was never even touched.
Right.
Was never even explored, was not in this whole like pounding on it. Like that's not I mean to each his own, and I'm not dogging it, but there is something amazing when you actually are there in a passionate, loving, beautiful way, right? Yeah. And so here it is. I call it the fountain of youth. Because the clitoris, some of them are out where they're like, hello, easy to find. Some of them are a little bit more hidden, and you have to do some work. But to actually stimulate this area, which has the highest amount of pleasure for a woman, you have to take the time to invest. Yeah. You have to take the time to care. You have to show up.
They build a relationship almost. Get to know it.
Right. Right. And the thing is you've got to get to know it. Yeah. Because it's not just to like, hey, let me touch you. I mean, now, let me say, if the person has properly stimulated the spirit and they have correctly stimulated the heart and the mind, then the body is just going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm melting. Just touch it. Right? Right. But most people jump into the body first, and it's like the body's like, okay, I feel that, but the mind's like, I wonder what he's going to do. I wonder where this is going. I wonder what my thighs look like right now. This is awkward. I should have put music on. Man, did I shave? Like you start going, the brain is going to go away from this because of the fact that it's not engaged. Yeah. Right? Right. And then you have this person who's like, oh yeah, that's great. And it's like, but she's thinking about like, man, I really need to get my toes done. You know, and it's like we're all now pretending to be in this experience that isn't really happening. Yeah. So then you get to the place where if the spirit is engaged, where it's like I am like just everything about you has me, it's going to open it up too.
Yeah.
Because the spirit then, if the spirit is turned off, it's like, really, what are you doing?
Yeah, I
Like,
would
what are
definitely
you
say when
doing?
I started to get more connected with myself, instead of just like utilizing my body to please someone else and more being receptive of what it's doing to me, it definitely did a switch. Like,
Right.
complete
And,
switch. And I was like, okay, so this is what it's like to actually have sex with someone, and even like with myself. I'm like, oh, this is
right.
what that experience is supposed to be like. I get you all the way.
Okay, so write that down. Having an experience, having sex with somebody as your, like it's yourself,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Because I want to come back to that. That's what I want to end on
Okay.
because it's hugely important. And that's exactly it. It's like there's something within, because within you, when these things are woken or awoke or awaken or however you want to say that, when these things come alive within you, now the brother that's just like, girl, you look good. I'll like your shoe. You want to bring him home? Like, nah, I'm good.
No.
Thank you. I'm good. That just doesn't do anything for me. But the one that's like, listen, your essence, I want to get to know you. Let's have a conversation. Let's da, 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 da. All of a sudden, you're not letting dirty people in your car.
Right. And that
Because,
changed. That
right,
started to change. Like, I'm still, in the process, but that changed. It's like, okay, even the relationships that I want to have with men that take interest with me are changing. I'm like, okay, we're like halfway there.
right. And that's the thing. It's not even, and this is the thing, it's not just relationships with men. It's going to be relationships with everybody
Yep.
because I
Everybody.
no longer have time to hang out with somebody who all they want to talk about is corona and how this is happening and violence and whatnot. I don't live in that space, so it doesn't flow with who I am.
Yeah.
So I'm now only letting people in my vehicle and in my surroundings for me
Okay.
in my for me in my space that are healthy and are list in that same journey with me, right, or are open to that same journey. I now, because of what I do as a coach, I let people in, right? I'm not rejecting anybody, but I meet you where you are, and you're not going to come into my personal space unless you are that reflection of who I am in a
Right.
healthy manner. Because why would I can't tolerate it. Like I don't have time to sit up, and it's like if you're smoking crack and you want to go like have like go do these binges, sex binges, like that doesn't align with what are we going to talk about? I'm talking about like cosmic beauty here. And it's like, you're going to look at me like I'm crazy. And
And
I'm
that's
going to
the
be like,
boundary part that even now, because even practicing spirituality, it comes with these. I promise you, the video that I upload, it comes with its own, like, I call it a spiritual ego within. It's kind of like it reflects like the Bible. You need to be so nice to people that do you bad. It's like what you said. Someone pulling your
right,
hair, slapping you, and saying you still need to be kind to them. And it's like I'm gonna be respectful and nice, but I have to be able to draw the line as far as like, because these people
right.
want to enter into my space, but they have
Because they want to feed
no
from you.
idea of
Right.
how they're treating me. And then in the end, it's like I'm the one being crazy. It's like, no, you're completely disrespecting me, or you completely don't like me, and you still keep expecting from me. That's just, you know what I'm saying?
Well, and it's,
So
it's called feasting. The people, we're always feasting off each other.
yeah.
That's period. Like we're parasites. We feast.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm
true.
gonna go ahead and surround myself with people that when we feast on each other like this is a healthy feasting.
Yeah, how are we feasting off of each other? Let's be
Right,
mindful
exactly.
of
Like
that.
and when somebody is feasting off of you, there is a release of part of you. That's the same thing with sex.
Yeah.
So that goes back to the whole thing of like, so we have this clitoris that is like, I want to be touched. And it's like somebody gets into that space yourself, or you get to that place where you now are with somebody that knows how to properly stimulate that. The fountain takes off like the Bellagio. And it's like,
Right.
wow. Everybody's like, what is this? It's like me experiencing everything. Yes. Right?
Right.
So it's like you immediately feel this energy shift, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, this is amazing. So then from there, we have the pearly gates. And if you're taught anything about Christian belief, the pearly gates are the gates of heaven,
Okay.
right? And it's like the pearly gates just open up and they like are ready to receive and take in. Now this is the gift to the man. Now we've been told we have a vagina, but a vagina has some nerve endings in it in a couple, so you get pleasure from having somebody enter your vaginal canal. But your vaginal canal is for creation release. It is where the release of things go.
Yeah.
It is something that sheds out.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, it takes in, but it's to shed out. So when you have something, when you understand this, now you're accepting this, and now I'm going to say I am all about men. So I speak on that. So depending on what other people's preferences are, they can take what I'm saying and they can adapt it to their lifestyles. I don't speak on something I haven't experienced because I can't. I don't. So I say that to say when the experience of the man entering the woman happens, he is like, if he has got that fountain going, he is on fire. That
Right.
man
That's true.
is hardwired and is to get,
True.
right? So the minute, and because he's gotten that fountain going, you've opened up, but you've also expanded yourself.
Yeah.
So now he's being taken into something that is going to absorb him and love him and like take him in, right?
Yeah.
So he's going through the pearly gates. And what's on the other side of pearly gates other than heaven?
That's true.
And what do we get when we're in heaven? Absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Right? We get absolutely everything when we're in heaven. Like all wishes are granted. Everything that you want, you get to create the life that you want. This is where we have got to understand who we are as women.
Yeah.
Because there is a motion that takes place when he goes within. And I like to call this, the third part of it, the lamp of granted wishes. So as he's going into heaven, he is getting his wishes granted. So if he's coming to you, if he got into your vehicle and he's thinking about like, man, I gotta get this money. And everybody's trying to kill me and life sucks and whatnot. Grant your mindset.
Right. And I do
Grant
that
it.
now too. I get very
Right.
intentional because that's the energy. I'm like, this is probably one of the highest energies that I experience.
Absolutely.
Everything that I'm asking or want to pursue or whatever is going directly into that every single time. I'm not even thinking about much
It is
other than that.
instantaneous.
Yep.
It is almost instantaneous. So like for me now, it's like, okay, like this is my little thing that I tell brothers that are trying to talk to me. It's like, brother, you would disintegrate. You can't, number one, you don't understand who you are. And you don't understand who you are. And you're looking at me and you see booty for days, little waist, whatever, all the little things that they tell me, oh yeah. But what you don't understand is you dealing with the universe right here.
Yes.
Because I know the power of what this is now.
Yes.
I know that this is not some kind of pleasure zone. This is not Disneyland. This is the universe. I'm not a drive-through. So don't try to come and drive through. This is literally a grant writer.
Right.
And I'm writing grants and they are going to come to fruition. So it's super important that we understand that when we are who we're supposed to be, that we are doing some things and the things that we're doing are life-changing. Like all this stuff that's going on right now, if we as women, there's a story, a story from back in the day where one of the gods was upset and she hid in her cave and whatever. I'm really chopping it up, but to bring her out, everybody was like, we need her because she was part of the reason everything worked, and her hiding things were falling apart. It might be. And then one of the other women came out in front of the cave and like lifted up her dress and was like showing everybody her like doing a yoni dance and like exposing her yoni to the cave and to the people, and
Yeah.
everybody roared with laughter, and she was like, nobody should be happy, and came out and saw this and fell over laughing and like found her peace, right?
Wow.
And
Okay.
it's like we have systematically, we were priestesses
Right.
with the priest. There was a divide between, in the Western culture,
Mm-hmm.
that said, I cannot control priests and priestesses together because they are too powerful, because they tap into the source without someone else's need or an impact or input.
Yeah.
So it's like if I separate them and I take the women, this is the start of the patriarchal situation where it's like I take the
Yeah.
women, I push them over here because then I can control the man. And even more importantly, I'm going to bring in students to then do things, to become men, to do things, to become men, to do things. Because then their urge of their sexual need, nature, which is not going to go away, is taken care of, but it separates the women over here who now are going without and are denying their physical needs.
Right.
We have men that are devouring their needs, but in a way that they cannot create.
Right. Like,
And
this
then
is
we
so
sit up and we
crazy.
say, like, look, what is this? So then I'm sitting here and I have this diamond that I don't know how to use and I don't know how to tap into. And it's the root chakra,
Yep.
right? It's
It's the
like,
one they
it's
say
this,
we should like avoid the most, but I'm like, I really feel like that's where it's all starting
yeah,
though.
avoid it because we want you to be separated.
And
We
that's where it's
want you
at
to be
though.
disconnected.
That's where it's at though. Like that's where
That's
it's
where,
all at.
but
Like
here's the
right
thing, it's
there.
always where they want you to stay away from. They're never going to tell you when the game hot cold,
I
right?
feel like I remember when we were like growing up
Right, it's
hot
like, oh,
cold.
you're hot, you're hot, you're hot, you're hot. No, no, no,
Yeah,
no, no,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
cold, you're
yeah,
cold,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
cold, you're cold,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
They have switched the temperatures
yeah. You're
to
right.
keep us away
Yeah,
from what we're supposed to be doing.
yeah.
And they have created this illusion of what something is that it's supposed to look like. Like I'm supposed to get thrown back, like, oh yeah, oh yeah. Like, come
Right.
on, like that, please. No, you know what the most amazing experience I've ever had is when I put my hand up against his face, and he put his hand in my face, like he just fell into my hand, and then he looked me directly in my eyes and would not break a gaze. And when I tried to, he's like, no, I need you to look at me. And he wanted to look in my eyes.
Okay.
That was like, that's like so what is this? What is this? Right? And it was so incredibly beautiful to be able to see, like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be in this, in an expression. I'm supposed to be in this place, knowing that it's like my clitoris is supposed to be played with and supposed to experience 8,000 nerve endings is not there accidentally.
Right.
And if we all think about it, we started out as the same in utero.
Mm-hmm.
So the 8,000 nerve endings were there. Theirs dissipated and went other places. Ours stayed collectively in this spot up front. Like, are you going to show up front? Are
Right.
you going to come to the front of the line and show it for me? Or are you going to sit up and just go to the back and be like, yo, let me just hit this and go? Because if you're hitting it and go, you're not here. And the thing is that when we talk about all of the fantasies that we've been given these fantasies of like, oh, it's this lovely land. We are in hell.
Yeah. Because we're not
We are
even
not
giving
in heaven.
ourselves what we deserve, really.
Right.
The full experience that we should be giving to ourselves. We're not giving ourselves.
Right. Well, the human experience is not one of heaven. It's until we go within and recognize that all this stuff out here is not real. all this stuff out here is not what it is. And then we find out that it's like, oh my gosh. So when you touched my clitoris properly, I'm like, yo, what is that? What am I attaching to? And it's like, oh, I'm attaching to my God energy, my spirit energy. And I use the word God because that's what we've labeled it, but there is no word for it. It's just like this infinite intelligence, this source that is like the energy
It's like what
pulsing
you get when you're up here.
right,
Like one of those,
exactly.
it's that God-like experience.
But there's a 3-point. You can't see my other third hand. But it's like we have an opening. We have an opening. We have an opening. And so when we have somebody coming into the through the pearly gates, and now they're asking for their wishes to be granted.
Right.
If you don't know what is taking place, you are creating unintentionally and unaware. But here's the thing, you're still fully responsible.
Yeah.
We are 100% responsible for the things that we are experiencing and the things that we're cultivating. It's not something that it's like, oh, well, my marriage was what it was because I came to the table thinking I didn't deserve the absolute best.
Right.
So if I don't believe I deserve the absolute best and I partner with somebody who's not giving me the absolute best, it's because we reflect each other. Even in us being good people, we still reflect each other's situation. So where I'm lacking, he's going to present that to me, and I'm not going to find my peace and joy in this person because they cannot give it to. We're 100% responsible for our own experience, peace, and joy. I have a person in my life right now that it's like that everything is my responsibility. When I start to feel a certain kind of way because he doesn't show up or he doesn't call or he doesn't do this or because I can't get in contact with him or these different things, like I have to sit back in me and say, okay, what is this triggering in me? What am I needing to still walk through? What have I not handled because I'm so focused on something outside of me that I'm allowing it to disrupt what's within me.
Yeah.
And so the Emerald Tablets, a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book. If you haven't started reading the Emerald Tablets by F. Toth.
Emerald Tablets?
Emerald Tablets.
Okay.
Of Toth via Atlanteus. It's pretty crazy, I will say that. I mean, it's just like, but I was reading this and talking with my friend, and it was one of those moments where I experience complete joy with some people, right? Where it's like the minute they come into my space, it's like my heart opens up. I just feel like I can't stop smiling. I feel like, I just feel alive, right?
Those joyful.
And it's like this person, and it's like, and if it becomes an intimate relationship, then it's like, wow, like, what is this? And we were talking, and it's like, oh my gosh. Like, everything is a reflection of the spirit in me, reflecting out of me that I'm experiencing. Because the spirit, I am a vessel. I am an avatar being utilized. I'm a spirit having a human experience. So currently, right now, the God within me is the same God within you.
Right. Like, that's how we get on here. I'm like, dude, I was just talking about this. Like, I was literally just talking about these things.
So when we understand that,
talking about.
And this is the craziest thing. Like, all of this is about having that experience and that awareness that it's like, this is God dancing in my body.
Yeah.
This is God dancing with itself as I'm mirroring you.
Yeah.
Right? This doesn't mean that we have to have, like, God is dancing right now and is doing cartwheels.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if we move that into the intimate space where it's like, listen, like, I understand, like, even coming to the realization that for women, like, revolutionary, be ready for this because this is going to sound crazy. And I'm not going to say I've gone deep enough in it to speak into it, but I now understand
We have like
that
four
our
seconds
menstrual
though.
blood, huh?
10 seconds. We got like 2 seconds. It's about to cut off.
Oh,